Many weird and basically unknown things lived during this time, but one of the stranger genera to emerge, which is saying something, was a thing that I can only describe as looking like an Elden Ring's boss if it was a tree made of flesh, which might actually be a thing. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Namacalathus, a being that is essentially the combo of some of the most horrifying traits ever. When its fossil was first unearthed, people could only conclude that it resembled something you'd expect an alien to live in, given its openings at the top. Yet beyond this, they had no clue what they stumbled upon. It did kind of resemble a tree, like I said, though at the same time when examining the materials of its so-called trunks, they realized that in life they would have been calcified. So in other words, this was no tree, and rather an animal, and represented the oldest evidence we have of a skeleton. And lo and behold, eventually fossils representing what covered its body were located, which only served to make it stranger and more nightmarish. Because as it turns out, Namacalathus was a real-life monster. No, really. This thing was covered in endless amounts of grasping tentacles and rows of spines that could have shredded anything that it made contact with. And remember those openings I was talking about? Well, turns out they were trypophobia-worthy biological windows, so to speak, that varied in size and in life would have been filled with organic matter. Now what they did is not known, but I sure hope for its neighbor's sake that they didn't have anything to do with eating. And to just make it a bit more of an oddball, it turns out that these windows didn't just come in circle shape, but virtually every strange shape you can imagine, including, but not limited to, a heart, the moon, hexagons, heptagons, and so forth. Oh, and did I mention that I could adjust its size based on where it lived, and basically pop up just about anywhere? Well, yeah, it could. Though, naturally, given its terrifying appearance, it did have a preference for living in the abyss, like literally, the abyssal plains. But now to the important question. With all this said and done, what was it? Visually, one could argue it looked most like a coral, gone very, very wrong. However, in classic strange fossil fashion, a study on it found it to have been too complex to have been a coral. And so honestly, we aren't sure what it is. Pretty much the only thing we do know is that it was alive and looked very, very freaky. Now, while not to the same degree, many other life forms from this time also fit in this what the heck is it category, including things like the enigmatic Dickinsonia, which looked basically like a rug you would find in your bathroom.